Today has honestly been such an amazing day. And I think every day is getting better because without even realizing it, I've had emotions on pedestals. And if I'm not happy, then I'm not attracting anything into my life, or I'm slowing down my progress. That's what I would make myself think, I guess. For some reason, I made myself believe that if I don't feel good, then things aren't manifesting. And I've something has clicked inside of me that's you can feel your pain, you can feel your resentment, your anger, your frustration, your sadness, every emotion all at the same time if you want to, and it's not affecting what you've been manifesting or what you've been hoping for, what you've been dreaming of. Because as easily as you get into those moments of I need to feel my pain, you can get yourself out immediately out of those. So for me, whenever I feel these moments of frustration and pain and anger, I immediately know I need to go outside and listen to some music, or go outside and just relax. It's me time 100%. So if I feel angry and I have plans or I have anything going on that day, I make sure that I do what I need to do responsibly. Like if I work that day, I work that day, but then afterwards it's just about me. Like the whole day is just about me. Anytime I get text messages or anything, I'm getting better with communicate. I'm trying to get better with communication because I want to be as vulnerable as possible with these videos, because I feel like whenever I'm vulnerable, you're able to kind of listen to these and say, okay, well, you can be hopeful and and spiritual and ready for things to be amazing and still feel angry and still feel behind and still feel, all of these emotions, but still know that good things are still coming, even if you feel these not so high vibrational feelings. Because I wouldn't say it's any of them are low vibrational or any of them are high vibrational. It's just moments in time where you have to look at yourself and see what am I still holding on to that my body wants to let go of. Because whenever I feel this anger, it's always just things from the past, like moments in time where I wish I had more boundaries. For example, sometimes my anger comes up and I'm just like, man, I go back to this moment where I know I gave my power away, but then I knew I was giving it away, but I continue to do so. And what makes me angry personally is giving my time to people and then that not being appreciated, because I value my time so much that when the people take up my time for no reason, or take up my time for selfish reasons, that makes me very angry. And then it makes me even more angry that I wasn't able to set a boundary at that moment. Now thinking about it, if that situation or that cycle would ever come back into my life, I would just be like, I don't have time for this. My time is too valuable to be spending it doing something I don't like. Like before, as a young kid or a young teenager, young adult, I would be thinking I have, give me a second. I felt like I had to give my time away, because I'm just for some reason, well, I wouldn't say just for a random reason, but I was taught as a kid that if you want love, or if you want like something in your life, you're having to sacrifice parts of yourself to earn or to have this stuff. So in my head, I would always, well, I guess in my heart, in my head, I had convinced myself that if I want good things to come into my life, I'm gonna have to do things I don't want to do. And like, I was like, I have to have this job that I don't like. I have to talk to these people that I don't like. You know, as a teenager, I was always like, I was putting others before myself. So anytime moments came up where like I could have easily just said no, and it was not even like a serious kind of situation, like a harmful situation I would put myself in. What I mean is like in my heart I was like, I just want to go home and like just relax, but deeply knowing that I wasn't able to go home and relax because it was a battlefield at home. So having to choose where I wanted to go was like, well, I'm not comfortable at home, I'm not comfortable there. So I have to do things after school, even though I'm already so mentally and physically tired. I have to, choose one or the other. Like, do I choose to, do something after school or go home and deal with that? And so I never felt safe in any of my environments. So whenever I got older, I felt the same way. I felt like I'd always felt like I had to run away from something, if that makes sense. It always felt like when something good was happening in my life, I would always in my head be like, okay, well, what do I have to like sacrifice in order for this good thing to come into my life? When in reality, it's like good things come no matter what. And so I was like meditating and like looking at all of like the mental blockages that I have. And so I was like, in my head, I was thinking, I have to like sacrifice something or I have to give my power away in order for good things to come into my life. And I finally like sat down with myself and I was like, I hope you know that's not true. Like you're able to have good things in your life, still choose you at the end of the day. Like you can choose yourself no matter what. You can choose yourself all the time. And I think that's one of the main reasons why I never wanted to have kids, because having kids really like takes up your entire life. And I wasn't ready to make that big of a sacrifice because I understood even as a kid that like having kids takes up, it's a sacrifice. So whenever I, was talking to people, whenever I was talking to people, I would always tell them like I'm not ever having kids. Like kids are not on the table anytime soon or in that manner ever. Because like I truly believe that there are some people that are meant to have kids and then there's other people that are not wanting to have kids. As a kid myself, I'm because I still consider myself too young to have kids. Like I'm barely like figuring out who I am. Like I'm always like when people are having kids and they still don't know who they are, like I'm always just like, how? How are you doing that? Like, how are you having kids and not knowing who you are? Because, like, for me, I know, like, the positive aspects that I have, but I also realize I know what my negative, well, not quote unquote negative, but I know what my shadow sides are. So, like, I know, like, my positive sides is I'm very patient, I'm very loving, I'm very caring, like, I'm very open-minded. I can see things from different perspectives. I am able to be very compassionate and I'm not I don't rush things in life. But then my shadow side is yes, I'm patient, but I do have a very short fuse sometimes. And sometimes my anger builds up so much that it gets thrown to other people, and sometimes I'm not very good at communicating. Like that's one of my positives is that there are moments in time like if I feel comfortable enough with you, I will truly like sit down and communicate with you and like truly tell you exactly what's going on. And there's other moments where like I wish I could communicate how I'm feeling, but I always feel like there's going to be judgment if I communicate how I'm feeling. So there's always that the your light side and your shadow side, but falling in love with every single side of you, like knowing that I have this shadow, it's not like because I'm able to be patient, but I'm able to also use my discernment and see when my patience isn't needed, like when I don't need to have any of this patience for situations. And before I had like my YouTube channel named Val's Divine Art, because I was like, I'm an artist and I want to be known as an artist, right? Because I was like, I love art, and like anytime like someone meets me, I would always just be like, I wouldn't obviously be like immediately like, oh yeah, I'm an artist, but anytime people would ask me like, what do I do? I'm like, I mean, I have a human job. I have that job that you feel like you're required to have, but I also have this job that, or like this vocation that I really want to do. And I always thought like, well, it's art. I want to create art, but I really like started thinking about it and I was like, I want to keep my art as a hobby. Like I don't want to depend on my art to bring in money, because that I feel like that's just too much pressure for like my creativity side. So like for me, I was like, what's something I always wanted to do? And I was like, I've always wanted to like make videos. I've always wanted to motivate people and like talk to people through different stages of their life. And so I've changed my name because whenever I was meditating, I want to say it was either yesterday or 2 days ago, I went into such a deep meditation and I started realizing that like every single person that I meet, or every situation that I'm in, or that any life stage that I was in, I was planting love in everybody and every situation and everything in my life. I would always plant love. So anytime I meet someone or I know someone, I constantly try to plant so much love into them, mainly because I didn't get the same. Like I wish someone would like came into my life and would plant love. And I did have those moments in time where like I was like in school and I had like an amazing teacher and they would plant so much love into me and I appreciated that so much. And I fell in love with that so much that I was like, I want to be that kind of person, like to every single person. So at work, anytime I'm having a conversation with anybody, I always like mentally give them so much love, even by saying hello, giving them a smile. I feel like something as simple as that is like planting love. Like planting love doesn't have to be so complicated and so like so much, if that makes sense, because sometimes whenever like some people think of you're planting love in someone, you feel like you have to do this like this huge thing for love, right? And if that's what that person wants, then okay. Like if you're with someone and they want like these big things for love, give them that. Give them that love that they deserve and need, right? But I mean, like for the whole collective, like everyone in my life, like I always try to like have small things of love. I always try to see like the beauty in everything, because honestly, I feel like yes, that triggers people sometimes. Like when you see the beauty in everything, sometimes it triggers people. But you have to understand that when that side of you triggers someone, it's because they want to see life like that, but they feel like they can't see life like that. Or if you're pursuing something and that's somehow triggering them or triggering someone, like sometimes whenever I would say like I'm an artist to somebody, right? And they would be like, I've always wanted to make art, but I've never really been good at it. And I would always tell them like, if you've always wanted to make art, then just go for it. Like what's stopping you from I feel like some people have this restriction of, well, I can't be an artist because I don't create songs like this person, or movies like this person, or drawings like this person, any kind of art you can think of, like anything creative. They're like, well, I'm not as funny as this person, or I'm not as like talkative as this person, or I'm not something I feel like I need to be for the world. And it's like you're viewing your creativity through judgment. You're not viewing your creativity or your art through love. I was like, you have to understand that when you create something, it's because like you truly love it and you truly want to do it. So whenever I would think about my art, I'm like, I truly want to do this, but I don't want to depend on it. I don't want to feel forced to do art, because I feel like that creates burnout, and that creates like, well, then now I don't want to paint for myself. Now I don't feel like painting my feelings because I have to do all these commissions. Or, well, now I don't feel like, pursuing anything for myself in my life because everyone else, wants these commissions and I feel forced to having to do them. That's how I used to feel, because I was like, well, man, I'm depending on this money to come in for art, and I'm having to say yes to things I want to say no to. Mainly because I'm just like, man, like, money's money, right? Like, you go to work every single day, you don't want to, but you do it anyways. So that's how I was viewing my art. Like, I was like, man, I have to do these things. And then I started realizing, like, I don't have to do any of this stuff. I could literally just, like, boom, like, even though everyone around me knows that I'm an artist and I wanted to pursue my art, just because I stopped pursuing my art as like a business doesn't mean that I've given up on my art. It just means that like I love my art so much that I want it to just be for me. Like, I want to create things that move things in me and hopefully move things in others. Like, if it moves things in me, I know it's going to move things in others. But I'm not depending on like my art to bring money in anymore. Like, I'm hoping that one day, like, these videos can support me at some point, or just like being a life coach could support the lifestyle that I want at some point. So it's like I've realized that, like, and I was like, how did I get onto this topic? So I was originally telling you this because I changed my name on YouTube, and went through this. I went into this deep meditation, and I started seeing myself planting love, right? And so I go on Google, and I Google, like, what is someone, or some, like, the action of planting something, like, what is that called, right? Just to make sure. And then it was like sow or sower, right? And I was just like, oh, that's so beautiful. And I was like, I can name myself Val, the sower of love, because, sow or sowing is like the planting or spreading of something. And I was like, my life goal ever since I was a kid was to plant and spread love everywhere to every single person. And I was like thinking, like, this has been possible all of my life, like planting and like spreading love has been and will be possible, because I know that that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, the universe, like, whenever I go into deep meditations and I see these like visions and I see something happening, I automatically know, like, the universe is showing me this for a certain reason. Like, for me, anytime I go into like my meditation mode, I come out here, and it's getting a little hot to come out here every single day. So I'm at least gonna try to come in the mornings, because where I'm from, it's like getting to like the high 80s, to the 90s outside, and that's not very comfortable after a while, because whenever I say I meditate for hours. Like, I can stay out here and meditate for 4, 5, 6 hours. And I don't see this as like a time waster. Like some people see like, oh, you're playing video games for this long. It's, you're wasting your time. It's like, but if you're genuinely in love with what you do, then that's not going to be a time waster. You're going to find a way to entertain people or entertain yourself with your hobby. For me, like art, I love doing it by myself. I don't really ever want to live stream my art because whenever I'm doing my art, I'm in my zone. I Any little tiny thing can really take me out of it. And so I would always be like, that would be so cool to live stream my art. And there were moments in time where like I was like, but I can't do that because when I get into my painting mode, I really get into it. I don't talk, I don't communicate. I The world does not exist whenever I'm painting or drawing something for myself. But when it comes to like something like this, I don't think I would ever live stream me talking like this because it's I love what I do. Like I just love communicating something and then putting it out into the world. Because for me right now I'm so like connected with nature, with source, with myself that when I'm in these moments of meditation, when I'm recording these videos, it feels like I'm not physically here. It feels like I'm on a different planet, reminding y'all that if you're not in love with your life, it's time to see and reflect what needs to get changed and what needs to move in your life in order for you to feel happy in your life. Because now realizing, like, sometimes people become parents and they're not even happy being parents. And I would say, like, that's how I feel like that was my interpretation of, like, my dad. Like, I would say that, like, I feel like my dad never wanted to be a dad. And I feel like it really showed. Or maybe they didn't want to be parents to so many kids. And they didn't really have that many kids. They had 3 in total. But like sometimes I'm like, man, I feel like they would have been doing just fine if they just had one. But I don't think people realize that when you have multiple kids, like they're all going to have different needs. They're all going to need different things. And so wanting kids is such a huge responsibility and a huge sacrifice that I think some people kind of view like I don't want to say this in like a horrible way, but I feel like some people view kids as like I want to have a child because I want love, right? And that's a beautiful thing to also want to have kids for. It's like I want love, but you also have to realize that a kid comes with so many sacrifices. Like there's going to be moments in time where you physically can't choose yourself because you have a child to take care of. Like there's going to be moments in time where you wish you could just have a moment of silence, but sometimes it's not possible. But that's where like that village comes in, right? That's where like if you have a whole village of people that will help you with your child, then go for it. Go have kids. Go have a beautiful family, but you have to understand that like having kids takes a whole village of people and it takes so many sacrifices. It takes so many days where you don't even know if you're going to survive. And I don't know the male perspective of having kids, but I know the female perspective of having kids. And like I understand, I know that both parties can leave a child's life anytime they want. I'm not saying that all moms are perfect or all dads are perfect, but I feel like you really choose where you want to be. Like that's my like interpretation is you really choose like who your parents are because there was something specific you wanted to learn. And I'm slowly realizing that like maybe I had so much like ancestral pain inside of me, like because this isn't my first life living on earth. Like I have lived on earth, multiple times. Or at least like I don't know, maybe this similar experiences, because I don't believe that Earth is the only planet that has life. Like there's so many different galaxies and planets that have life and stuff. So like I completely believe that there's life everywhere else in other places. So like I just know that this isn't my first rodeo. But you choose to forget everything when you come, when you reincarnate, you choose to forget who you are and how powerful you are and how much knowledge you have until you truly tap into that knowledge. And so for me as a kid, I always had like a lot of people around me that needed a lot of like love, that really needed to like be planted a lot of love in them. And I feel like that's what I chose. I chose to live in like a moment in time where people needed a lot of love. People needed a lot of like understanding and compassion. But I also have to understand that I want to give that out, but I also want to take care of myself at the same time. So like it's just like this beautiful balancing of being like, maybe in my other lives, maybe it was hard for me to be selfless, maybe it was really hard for me to like choose myself, and now finally I'm able to choose myself without any guilt or any shame or any like any second thought, because whenever I know that I need time for myself, I'm able to make that time and not see it as like a time waster or shame myself for it. Like I love myself for every phase that I've gone through, and I still love myself no matter what I did in the past, or and I know that my heart's going to be with me in the future, so I don't even have to worry about making the right decision in the future, because I'm so like beautifully connected to my heart that like I'm not worried about making the right decision in the future, because I know I'm going to make the right decision, because every single day I'm connecting more and more and more to my heart. But you know, you can still see your life with so much love and compassion and still be going through go going through shit. I feel like some people think that if you see life with butterflies and rainbows that you have such an easy life. But in reality, it's like I feel like we've gone through the darkest times and we've gone through things that we thought we weren't even going to survive. And now we're here, so we're just like, well, if I survive that, then I can survive anything that comes. So why be negative, or why think that a tower moment is going to be negative when you can just ride that shit like a boss and just be like, I can ride through any emotion and I can survive. I can, you know, all of this pain and all of this like shadow side can come up, and I'm gonna survive every single moment of it, because I know whenever I need to give time to myself and when I need to um, really tune in with myself. And I wish everyone would give themselves that time. I feel like the world will heal so much if we realize that like this is our lives. You know, you don't have to sacrifice anything in your life. Like, and I know that's easier said than done, obviously, right? Because like so many people have already made decisions and they're just like, man, I wish I, like, there are genuinely some people, and it's not like, don't shame yourself if you've ever thought like, man, I shouldn't have had a child, or I shouldn't have had kids because maybe I wasn't ready for it, right? Like, don't ever shame yourself for feeling that, because like there's moments in time where you're just like, man, I wish I would have waited a little bit more, or I wish. But the thing is that everything happens perfectly. So if you have children right now, or if you're in a situation that you're just like, man, I really wish I wouldn't have put myself in this situation, like, you can take yourself out of the situation. And it's not like, obviously it's not going to happen overnight. You have to be really patient. Like, there's some moments where it does happen overnight. Like, there's moments where like you ask for something and like boom, like you're already ready for it, so it's already delivered. But there's moments in time where like you're in this moment in your life for a reason. Like, you're going through what you're going through for a reason. Like, there is a reason and a purpose for going through every single thing. Like, getting fired from a job, like, they're like, yes, sometimes it feels like the end of the world because you're just like, where do I go from here? Like, this was my safety net. But there's moments in time where you have to look around and look at all of your options. And like, sometimes we have such a narrow vision, and thinking, well, I'm not deserving of any of this stuff, so I'm not even going to look over here. When it's like, you are deserving of amazing things. You're deserving of everything that you've ever wanted. Like, open your eyes and see all of the opportunities around you, and see that, like, I am worthy and I'm deserving of all these amazing things. Like, you don't realize how, like, how you talk to yourself really, really affects your life. Like, you have to stop saying that you're not good enough for something. Like, stop saying you're not good enough for something that you genuinely want in your life. Like, if you genuinely, with your entire heart and your entire being, say, I want this, ask yourself why you don't feel worthy of having this. Like, genuinely, like, look yourself in the eyes and say, like, where have I learned, like, and it's not even your fault. Don't shame yourself, don't be angry at yourself, don't hate yourself, don't resent yourself for having these moments in time where you're just like, I don't know where I'm at and I don't know where I'm going. And it's okay, because like, sometimes we rush through life because we see everyone else rushing through life. We feel like everything is timed, like we're in this like like, literally, this like, this clock has been turned and you only have a certain amount of time. Like, there's a timer into life, and it's truly like, you can slow down. You can have moments of where you just slow down and breathe. I feel like the Matrix and everything wants you to be in such a rush to everything. Like, oh, well, if you don't have children or a house by this age, then you're behind. Or if you haven't graduated college from this age, then you're behind. And it's like, who's making these rules and why are we following any of these stupid rules? Like, you do realize that you can have kids at any age that you want. You can have a house at any age that you want. Like, having a house in your 50, like finally buying your first house when you're 50, doesn't mean you've been behind. It just means that you've been focusing on different things in your life. So sometimes there's moments where you like, you don't have to rush into everything. You don't have to rush into things. Like, slow down and know that what's for you will not pass you by. What is for you will not pass you by. And it's like the same things with me and these making these videos. Sometimes I feel like making these videos and I get this like rush of like knowledge, right? And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I have to go out there and make this video right now, or I have to like write this down immediately. But I have to also remind myself that this knowledge is in me forever and always. Like, it's always been inside of me. It's just been like waiting for me to know that I'm deserving enough to spread my knowledge, to share my story, and to say that, like, you can, it's your choice how you want to see life. And I know it's so much easier said than done, but like, if you truly understood what I've seen in life, you would truly understand, like, there were moments in time where like it felt like I had nothing to hold on to and I was just falling. But that's how I chose to see that moment. That was like, I'm not saying that I don't see life like that sometimes. Like, there's gonna be moments where you feel like you're falling, and everything is just burning to the ground and you have no control over anything and you feel so lost. But in reality, if you change the way that you're seeing that moment, just say, like, was that thing actually good for me? Was this job actually serving me? Was I actually happy in this job? Was I actually happy at this house? Was I actually happy in that situation? Like, there's a reason why I'm no longer in that situation. There's a reason why I'm no longer at this job. There's a reason why I'm no longer at this apartment or anything like that. You have to realize that, like, the universe took you out of there because it knew you, it knew it was time for better things. It knew that the things that were around you were no longer serving you. Like, it's time to realize that you get to choose how you see these tower moments. You get to choose how, like, if you're you can choose if your life is falling apart or if it's falling into place. And don't don't shame yourself for thinking that your life is falling apart, because you were taught to see it that way. You were taught to see that when you get fired from a job, it should be the worst thing in the world, when in reality it's like, this could be the best thing in the world. Like, I could find an opportunity that finally makes me happy. I can find an opportunity that, serves me, or I can go to this other job and learn a new skill. Like, there were moments in life where I was just like, I can't believe that I'm no longer like, whenever I was in those moments, like, I can't believe that I'm having to move out of this place. This felt like this was my safety, and now I'm having to go somewhere where I don't feel safe. you know but that's the way that I chose to see it. But that's not the way it was. Like, now looking back at that moment, I'm just like, man, that's what I really needed. I needed to get out of that place. And now the place that I'm in, I'm in love with who I am. And I'm in love with the choices that I'm making, because I'm making choices for me and through my heart, not choices of, man, but I feel like my family wants me to make this choice, or man, I feel like my partner wants me to make this choice, or I feel like my friends want me to make this choice, I feel like my job wants me to make this choice. Like, I'm not thinking of anyone when I'm making a choice. I'm thinking of myself. I'm thinking of, like, obviously my safety. I'm thinking of my safety before making any rash decisions. But I'm also thinking of, like, what's going to make me happy in this moment. Like, is choosing myself, like having a self-care day, going to make me feel better, even though it feels like everything is falling apart around my life. But I have to realize that I get to choose how to see it. So I'm like, well, there's a reason why I'm getting taken out of the situation, because the situation did not serve me anymore. This friendship did not serve me anymore. This connection didn't serve me anymore. Now it's time to move on to better things, because when you lose something, it has to get replaced by something better. Like, it has to. That's just the way life works. That when you are taken out of this situation, you're going to go into a better situation. You just have to realize that at some point in my life, some point in my childhood, some point in my teenage year, at some point in life, I was taught that if I was thrown out of a situation, placed somewhere else, that had to be a negative thing. But the truth of the matter is that when you get, like, taken out of a situation, it's going into a positive thing. But we were taught that change is bad, change is scary, when in reality it's like, when some huge change happened in your life, can you go back and look at it and say, man, but I really love where I am now? But at that moment, when that change was happening, when that tower moment was happening, you felt so lost, and you felt like, this is the end of the world, of my world, right? But you survived. You're here, and hopefully you feel better. Hopefully you feel free. Hopefully you feel able to make decisions for yourself. Like, there were moments in time, like, where it felt like I was losing everything. And then now looking back into it, I'm just like, I wasn't losing anything. I was gaining an opportunity to ask myself if this is what I really wanted. I was given an opportunity to feel like, to make that choice of, do I want to keep this in my life or not? It's getting kind of hot out here. So I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. I know I got pretty passionate in there. So I hope I was really, really vulnerable in this one. And I'm hoping to be this vulnerable, to be this passionate, to be this, like, this loud, this loving, every single video that I put out, every single message that I put out. I'm hoping that it moves something in you. I'm hoping that it triggers something in you, because sometimes something triggering you means that it's time to look at something. And obviously, if you feel like you can't listen to this right now, don't listen to it, because spiritual resentment is something that can happen. So, in my eyes, spiritual resentment is when you feel like you're going through something that how do I explain that? It feels like you're going through this like really massive change, this horrible situation by yourself. When in reality, you're never going through this situation by yourself. Like you're never going through these situations by yourself. Like you always have your heart, you always have the universe, you always have God, you always have your angels, you always have someone in your life who loves you, who is there for you. You just have to like open your heart up and say like I'm ready to receive the support and love that I need and that I want. Because if you're not giving that love and support to yourself, then the world's not going to give you that love and support. If you want something in life, make sure that you're giving it to yourself first. Like if you're not giving yourself love, then you're not going to see the love around you. If you're not giving yourself patience, then it's going to feel like the world doesn't have any patience with you. But if you're like your favorite person, like I want to hang out with myself all of the time. And some people may see that as like self-centered, like I don't care. If that seems like it's self-centered to you, then so be it. But I'm happy. So if me being self-centered is making me happy, then that's your problem, not mine. Because I'm happy choosing myself. I just saw 4114. I'm seeing a lot of mirrored numbers and a lot of angel numbers lately, and I love it. Like, I just went through like a really hectic time, like a moment where I was like on the verge of a crash out of like, I'm so angry and all this frustration is coming up and I don't know what to do with it. But I was able to like sit with myself and meditate and feel it and not ignore it. Because one thing pain does not like is being ignored. Pain does not like being ignored. Like it will feel like it is crumbling your life apart if you don't feel your pain. Like honestly, you start throwing it at other people and you're just like, man, I wonder why, like, sometimes I'm gonna be honest, like I'm gonna be extremely vulnerable. Sometimes in life I'm a a huge bitch. And honestly, it's like I don't see that word as derogatory. Like I'm not using it in like a bad way. Like if someone obviously like says it in a mean way, then like I'm gonna be like, "Whoa, watch your tone." But like I refer to myself as a bad bitch, a sad bitch, a mad bitch. Like that's not anything bad. I don't see that as like a bad term of saying it. Some people don't like cursing, and I don't mind. I curse all the time. That's just who I am. It's because I'm passionate. I have so much fire in me. If you meet a fire sign, you understand that we have so much fire and passion in us that like we really don't care about what's going on in other people's lives, because fire signs are known as like very selfish people. But honestly, we're selfish, but we're happy with it. Take notes. Sometimes you gotta be selfish to be happy. But I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. I love you so much. I'm sending you so much love, because we all go through tower moments in different times. Like I just went through what felt like a tower moment. Um, and now I'm back into, you know, I felt my pain. I didn't ignore it. I didn't push it away. I felt it and I looked myself in the eyes and said, we're going to feel this. We're going to move through this. And now we're on the other side. And now we're seeing rainbows, and we have our rose colored glasses on and enjoying life right now. And then as soon as pain wants to be felt again, it's going to be felt again. Like we don't ignore emotions. We don't ignore our feelings over here. We would never do that. We did that in the past. We saw how horrible that was to our body, how horrible that was to our world. And we are no longer ignoring our feelings. We're no longer ignoring our emotions. Our emotions are important. We know that. We know that 100%. I love you. I'm sending you so much love, and I can't wait. I really, really can't wait until I build a community. And I always, like, I already know that there's a lot more healing for me to do in order for this community to come in, because I'm slowly finding myself. But As soon as I find myself and feel deserving enough for this community, feel deserving enough for all of these amazing blessings, they are going to come. So I can't wait to see all of the blessings that are waiting for me. I love you, and I hope that you see all the blessings in your life, and I hope that you're giving yourself compassion and so much love and so much patience because you deserve it. I love you. Bye.